Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Finjan Show. I'm your host, Faris Alami. And today I'm really pleased to have our guest, Don
Schmincke.
Schmincke. Thank you so much, Don. And
Sure.
I want to, of course, thank our sponsors and our programs. And this time I want to thank our own program, Resilient Entrepreneur Program, where we walk through individuals on how to stay resilient during tough and good times. And we're excited to announce the launch of licensing for organization to deploy such a program in their own communities. Don, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
What a journey. Looking at your profile and reading about it, it's really impressive. And it sounds like you have a lot to offer to many people who are listening today, or, that runs through your pathway. I'd love for you just to maybe just in a high level, tell us who's Don and what do you do?
I like to learn and teach. My background was in a whole different area than where I am now, because I started in planetary physics at MIT, but then I started studying humans. That took me to Hopkins, where I ended up doing my graduate work in teaching. But that led me into looking at entrepreneurs and business owners and CEOs on how to grow companies faster, because there was a lot of failure rates. I mean, the failure rates management theory is over 70%. And I was curious as to why. So they asked me to look at it from a biological viewpoint. So most of my books and articles the past 30 years have been on experiments in that area. But it's been working. I mean, we've been growing companies 2 or 3 times, 10 times faster using these techniques. They are somewhat politically incorrect, but CEOs love it. So what do? I train about 700 CEOs a year in workshops, and I enjoy it. I have a good time, and I'm always trying to learn more. So we've done expeditions around the world for the past couple decades, and hopefully we'll continue that, because I learned something from everybody.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And, the truth is I would love to unfold all what you just stated there, because it seems pretty loaded worth of information. Just one quick note, why did you switch from such a, in such dramatic fields, maybe from the outside looking in? From the inside looking in, I could see the parallel of you analyzing the human behavior and understanding physics, how much it could contribute to your knowledge. I'm just curious, from the outside looking in, why would you jump ship? What happened for you to wanting to jump ship?
Academically, it was fairly easy, because I was switching universities and looking at different options for where I wanted to explore next. But going from that area of academia to application in the world was really something that was pulled out by CEOs, because I ran into a lot who were asking me to help with the failure rates that they were running into on management theories. And I didn't really know anything about business. So I thought, well, this is a good project. But it took off. My first book came out in the 90s with Oxford University's permission on studying ancient samurai training and development for their executives. And next thing I know, I was asked to publish more and speak more. And then I began training CEOs. And so the work that I'm doing now looks a lot different than I did 30 years ago, because we're always, evolving it and improving it. So it's been good. My next book is for entrepreneurs, called Winners and Losers. So we're trying to package a lot of what I've done with 30,000 CEOs. Somebody told me I have actually trained that many. I thought, you got to be kidding me. I'm getting so old. It's like I've been doing this like 3 decades. And put it into an entrepreneurial package for people that are starting up or running small businesses. So that's been fun. I've been really excited about that. So that should be out this fall.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm curious, it sounds like, were you kind of like done with the academic world and you wanted to jump into more practitioner from your perspective? I'm just trying to understand, why did you what intrigued you or triggered you to do that, to move from one field to another? Was it just you were ready for more, or you're not satisfied, or were you just, it intrigued you in the process? I'm just trying to understand what went through your guts. Or you're
Oh,
not?
I was fascinated by the unknown because I'm a chronic learner. So when I was presented this challenge by a number of CEOs and entrepreneurs, I thought, well, let's go, right? I thought I've never done this before. It's like going on a new expedition, and for me, it was just a good exploration. But I had done a number of these things before. I mean, I went from, biomedical engineering with Harvard, MIT labs to a nuclear guidance system training or development rather for their inertial guidance systems to this kind of work. So I've been all over. I have ADHD, so that kind of explains a lot of how I can jump around so rapidly, so many things. And so when this came up, it became multifaceted to me because there was always so many dimensions to it. Because dealing with leadership and company growth, not only is it the standard business models, but you're looking at failures. You're looking at what stops the human species from getting certain things done or believing in the things they need to alter behavior. And so that has been really a great laboratory. So, and it's taken me to different labs. I mean, I've visited lost civilizations. I did a book with Chris Warner to put humans in death zone environments at high altitude to see how they react. And now I'm getting involved with entrepreneurship teaching. So I guess it was my curiosity just led me here. I didn't ever plan to be here.
That's okay. Thank you so much. I mean, one of the things I'd like to, showcase is just the journey of curiosity in your case specifically, how got you to be here, whether with intentional or unintentional, you're here, you are today, right? So that's thank you so much for sharing that. Why don't we do this? And we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back to continue this conversation. You and I won't go anywhere, but we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. So much for being with us today. This is the Finjan Show. I'm your host, Faris Alami, and today Don is with us talking about his entrepreneurial journey. Don, what a journey! Thank you so much. And when you say you have a short span, I actually would have to disagree. My impression is someone with your caliber and what you've done, you had to pay a lot of attention for a long time before you could move from one thing or another. And your curiosity, what got you here, I have a feeling that also helping a lot of other people because of your observation of behavior and thoughts. But anyway, my question to you is, through your journey, I'm sure you've had up moments and you had down moments. And I'm curious to hear maybe one of your moments where you felt, wait a second, what am I doing? Why don't I go do XYZ or something else? And I'm curious to hear, maybe you could share with us one of those moments where you felt really down or you felt the world is collapsing and nothing is working.
Oh boy. There are many times when I think starting up a business and running it, you run into those areas where you feel like you've fallen, you thought this was going to work out. It did not. For me, my business model has evolved and still is evolving because I thought, like, for instance, if we just release this product or this book or get in the Wall Street Journal, everything will start, happening. And of course, none of that happened. So you have to retract. I've had to fire a number of teams that I had hired who were unable to execute. And I learned a lot from that. And I'm still learning. So for me, it was really around the business model because, after training tens of thousands of CEOs and them saying, wow, we've never heard this before. I can't go back and implement this. And they call me later and say, I can't believe what just happened. This has been amazing. And working with companies in over 100 industries, it's been great. I've enjoyed it. My speeches and publishings have done well, but it was, I think, the inside track of getting a business model to be able to scale has always been a challenge for me as an entrepreneur. I'm sure as it is for a lot of entrepreneurs, but my product is so unique. It really in itself was hard to replicate, because we're dealing with such high-end, customized, intensive work. I almost wish I started something else that was just easier. Here's a facilitator's guide and some PowerPoint slides. Now go do your thing. And it's like, we can't do that, because we're always customizing. But we're getting better at it. Like, we're looking at more online work for distribution. We're looking at developing cohort programs. We are taking the business modalities around publishing and distribution to new levels. So I'm always challenged by that. But yeah, that's been the ups and downs, is trying to get a business plan and a good team. And I've learned a lot. So I wish I knew some things earlier in my life.
That's okay. I mean, when I tell people a lot of times, if you knew what you know now, you might have never started. So it's maybe a good thing that you know as much. The other thing I usually tell people, having been fortunate to work with so many wonderful people, is that what you know today, the depth of it that allows you to comprehend what you're saying is much different than what you knew back then, for you to even understand what you might even tell yourself. So you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. You never
But I have a feeling, Don, you already know that.
Well, I think one mistake, I think for listeners who are saying, what was one thing that I did learn? It was when I hired people, I know this sounds negative, but I trusted them. Not that they were trying to be, untrustworthy, but I think they thought they knew more than they did. And so when I gave them executive level challenges or goals, it ended up that they couldn't execute. And then I had to jump in and do their job. And then in the end, it was like, what am I doing? What are you doing here? Because I'm doing your job now, because I had to tell you what to do. What I learned from that is that certain people have a high level of figure it out quotient. You know what I mean? They can figure it out. It's like, look, we have this product. It fits within this industry. Several people have actually scaled. Take this and let's scale it. I'm going to get some more research done and publish more books. And some people can figure that out. It's like, oh, okay, I got it. And they'll figure. Other people, I found out in my case, I had to tell them what to do. And I should have said, if you have to hire an executive and tell them what to do, they're not an executive. They're probably good at clerical work. They're probably good at operational work, systematic execution. But when you're growing a business, you need people you can delegate to who can figure it out. You don't have to tell, like you want them to tell. And this is what I was talking to somebody the other day. I love it when somebody tells me what to do, because now I don't have to tell them. They're repeating it back to me. In other words, I love that. And so I think the stronger we can get our next level down management to that level of thinking, where they can tell us what to do and they can take on and go and execute. That's the missing formula. And a lot of my colleagues who have businesses far bigger and more successful than mine, it seems like they always had that one or few people that could take it forward, so they could spend their time creating the new vision, the new products, the new competitive advantage. And meanwhile, they're executing. What's the word that has come up recently? The integrator. They're the integrators. We'll take your vision into action. You just focus on that. We'll handle it. That's perfect. But to find those people, very, very hard.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's not an easy task. As you know, entrepreneurs and leaders in general represent less than 10% of the population of almost any country. I mean, the most I've ever seen, maybe 12%. So 1 to 3 seems to be the average. So while people claim that they could do these things, I know that it takes a lot more to execute and to take that vision and to make it reality. Ideas, I always people, is cheap and easy. It's just how do you implement them and how do you go about it? Anyway, thank you for sharing that, Don. I really appreciate that great insight. One thing that I'd love to hear from you, because I'm sure you've had many successes and you'll continue to have more success. Maybe you could share with us one of those moments where you felt the world is under control, you're touching the sky, things are going exactly how you want it. Maybe you could share one of those moments with our listeners today.
Yeah. I think it's when I run into these brilliant people and they want to hang out with me. It's just incredible. And George Stalk and I are doing some conversations together and exploring different areas of research. And he started the lean manufacturing revolution about 20 years ago, and has written a number of Harvard Business Review articles. Very innovative. I've always respected his work. In fact, I was promoting his book, Competing Against Time, like 20 years before I met him. And we met in a board meeting and I realized, oh, you're the guy. So anyway, when I'm hanging out with people like this, or Cy Wakeman or Dr. David Buss at the Evolutionary Psychology Lab, I really find that I'm on top of the world, because I'm learning from people that can teach me so much. And I guess they respect me enough to want to have a conversation. And I usually walk away with my mind just more expanded. And so I'm happy to achieve that part of life to where I can run into these people and we can have a relationship that can be intellectually and mutually stimulating.
That's great. Well, clearly I can keep you here, Don, all day long, but I'm sure you have a few more things to do beyond just talking to me on this talk show. I want to say thank you so much for making the time being with us today. And we will make sure that obviously when we release this, that you're tagged and you could reshare as much as you'd like. I want to thank you for being with us. And, although you might have answered a little bit of this in the conversation, I'd love for you to just maybe reflect back. And the question is, looking back at your journey, and if you were to go back and tell yourself something that, to our earlier points of discussion, that not necessarily would listen to it or you would have cared for it, what would you tell someone who may be thinking of starting or growing their business today? What would you leave that one nugget for them today? One word or one sentence?
I'd say when you take that journey into that niche or that area of value you want to take on, find those people that you can delegate to help you along, because doing it alone is going to be a difficult journey. And that's one of the things I wish I'd done earlier, was know how to trust people. But what did Reagan say? Trust but verify. Trust them, but give them an example, give them a problem, see how they solved it. It's just to see if they could think it through. It would have saved me millions of dollars for losses.
Don, thank you so much for being with us. For our listeners, thank you for joining. I'm your host, Faris Alami, and this is the Finjan Show. Until the next time, have a good day.